Wonder Murmur, where whispers weave the heart.
Hello, little hearts. A new whisper begins. Alice sat on the riverbank, a familiar feeling of summer day boredom settling over her like a heavy blanket. The sun cast a lazy golden haze over the meadow, and the drone of bees in the clover was the only sound besides the gentle turning of pages from her sister's book. It was a book about logic and reason, full of long sentences and no pictures. Alice sighed, a sound that felt as big and empty as the day itself. What good is a book without pictures or conversations? She murmured to the whispering grass. She longed for a story, a grand adventure, for something to spark a little magic in the world. Just as her eyelids grew heavy with the heat, a flash of white darted from under a bush. A tiny white rabbit, standing on its hind legs, was pulling a silver pocket watch from the pocket of a vibrant blue waistcoat. His pink nose twitched with frantic urgency. Oh dear, I shall be late," he squeaked, his voice like the rustle of dry leaves. Alice's heart gave a little leap. A talking rabbit? With a waistcoat? Her boredom vanished in a heartbeat, replaced by a surge of pure, unbridled curiosity. She watched, wide-eyed, as he vanished into a hole beneath a grand oak tree. Without a second thought, Alice pushed herself to her feet and followed, her mind already spinning with questions. The rabbit hole was not what she expected. It was a long, gentle tunnel that felt less like a fall and more like a drift, a slow descent into a world of dreams. She passed shelves of polished jars labeled marmalade, maps of lands unknown, and books with titles she had never heard of. The air grew cool and sweet, smelling of damp earth and forgotten secrets. When she finally landed with a soft thump on a pile of moss, a shiver of excitement raced through her. She found herself in a long, dimly lit corridor, and the white rabbit was nowhere in sight. The corridor was lined with doors of all shapes and sizes, their brass knobs gleaming like scattered gold. Alice tried every single one, the hope in her heart dimming with each locked door. A creeping sense of panic, cold and slick, began to wrap around her. Had she traded one kind of entrapment for another? Just as tears pricked at her eyes, she noticed a small three-legged table with a tiny golden key upon it. She snatched it up, her hope rekindled, but it was too small for any of the doors. Her shoulders slumped in defeat, and she leaned against the wall, noticing a small velvet curtain she had missed before. Behind it was a door no bigger than a mouse hole. The tiny golden key slid into the lock with a perfect click. Through the door, a breathtaking garden shimmered, a symphony of color and life. Giant crimson roses blossomed in manicured beds, and the sound of fountains splashing echoed in the air. But Alice, as big as she was, couldn't even fit her head through the tiny doorway. A wave of disappointment, sharp and bitter, washed over her. It was so close, yet so out of reach. She returned to the table and saw a bottle she hadn't noticed before. It was a deep amethyst color, and a label tied around its neck said, "Drink me." With a new rush of hope, she drank the sparkling liquid. A tingling warmth spread through her body, and she began to shrink. The world around her grew into a forest of table legs and giant shadows. She was the perfect size for the door. But her heart sank again as she realized she had left the key on the table. A table that now towered over her like a mountain. Overwhelmed, she began to cry, and her tears flowed like a river, quickly forming a vast, salty puddle. Just then, the white rabbit scurried past, his face a mask of worried haste. "Oh, the Duchess! The Duchess!" he cried, dropping his gloves and fan without looking back. Alice, now floating in the ocean of her own tears, picked up the fan and began to gently fan herself. But with each flutter, she began to shrink even more, until she was a tiny speck in the puddle. A single perfect rose petal, floating in the water, looked as big as a boat. She paddled frantically, her sense of purpose returning, until she drifted to a shore where she met a menagerie of bewildered-looking animals. She ran until she stumbled upon a giant mushroom. Sitting on top, calmly smoking a pipe, was a blue caterpillar. He looked down at her with wise, ancient eyes. "Who are you?" he asked, the words slow and resonant, like the tolling of a great bell. Alice, feeling lost and small, replied, "I don't know. I keep changing sizes. I don't know who I am anymore." The caterpillar smiled, a slow, knowing smile. "One side will make you taller, the other will make you shorter." His words were a simple, profound truth. Alice took a small bite from one side and shot up, her head in the clouds. With a gasp of awe and a little fear, she took a bite from the other side, shrinking back to her normal size. She had found the secret to her own self-control. She carefully took a piece from each side and tucked them into her pocket. A little treasure of confidence. Her journey led her to a grand ancient tree with a tiny door, the one from the beginning. With her tiny key, she finally entered the magnificent garden. But the beauty was deceptive. The Queen of Hearts, a woman with a voice like thunder and a face like a storm cloud, was ordering her card soldier gardeners to paint white roses red. "Off with their heads!" she screamed, her eyes blazing. She challenged Alice to a game of croquet, but the game was pure chaos. The mallets were live flamingos, and the balls were frantic hedgehogs. Suddenly, a booming voice cried, "The trial has begun!" Alice was dragged to a madhouse of a courtroom, where the Knave of Hearts was on trial for stealing tarts. As the Queen pointed a furious finger at Alice and demanded she take the witness stand, a powerful surge of indignation swelled within her. The sheer absurdity of it all, the injustice, made her feel bigger and stronger than ever before. Her body began to grow, her dress bursting at the seams. "I know nothing about this," she declared, her voice now a powerful echo that shook the very foundations of the room. "Then I sentence you off with your head," the Queen shrieked, her face turning crimson. But Alice was no longer afraid. She looked down at the furious Queen and her flimsy court of cards. "You're nothing but a pack of cards," she roared. And with a confident wave of her hand, she swatted them away. They fluttered and scattered in the air, a whirlwind of flimsy paper and meaningless threats. The whirling cards became a gentle gust of wind, and the sound of it was her sister's voice. "Alice, wake up," her sister said, gently shaking her shoulder. "You've been asleep for so long." Alice's eyes fluttered open. The meadow was still golden, and her sister was still reading her book. Alice smiled, a wide, genuine smile. "It was a dream," she whispered, but her heart knew it was so much more. She knew that a curious mind could go on the greatest adventures, and a brave heart could stand up to anything, even a queen. And sometimes, the most wonderful journeys of all begin with just a little bit of boredom and a whole lot of imagination.
wonder murmur, the story departs, yet the whisper imparts.